Hey, how are you? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Drew, aka Booty Sweat, and man, it has been a minute, but Mortal Kombat 1 just released a couple of days ago for people with early access and is going to be releasing in a few days as of the time of this video, releasing for the rest of you. So I wanted to go ahead and start off strong. Baraka was a character I did not expect to be back in this game, so I was really excited to see that he was. I've been playing around with him a little bit, been watching some other players play him, and I think it's time to go ahead and put together kind of a general guide. As always with my guides, this is kind of for people who are just dabbling in the character, who are new to the character and new to the game. This is not necessarily, I mean, we're only a couple of days into the game, so it's not like everybody has figured out all the most optimal stuff. But in this, we're going to talk about his basic strings, his specials, basic game plan, and then we're also going to talk a little bit about what cameos I think are good for Baraka as well. So if all of that sounds interesting, make sure you stick around. Also, make sure you like and subscribe for more Mortal Kombat 1 content. We're going to be doing guides for a bunch of other characters as well. We got Sub-Zero, Havoc, Reptile, Shao Kahn. We got a whole bunch, or sorry, General Shao. We got a whole bunch of different guides coming up, so make sure you like and subscribe. All right, let me shut up and get on into the guide. So let's start off just by taking a quick rundown and inventory of Baraka's basic attacks and basic attack strings. So I'm going to go ahead and put this up on screen. I get this question a lot. We use numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. A lot of people ask me, what in the world does that mean? I don't understand why there's arithmetic and algebra on screen. 1 is simply front punch, 2 is back punch, 3 is front kick, 4 is back kick. So I'll put a little graph up on the screen right now showing you exactly what that means, and you can refer to it for the rest of the guide if the numbers are confusing you. So Baraka's first string we're going to go over is his 1-2-1. It's a high starter. You can use it for combos, you can use it to punish. Keep in mind that it is a high, so that it does actually it is duckable, so just keep that in mind. Next we have back 1-2, which is a low starter that ends with a mid. Kind of looks like it should be an overhead, but it's not. It's a mid, so just keep that in mind. But it is a low starter, and we'll see here in a minute with his forward 3 that it kind of gives you a little bit of a mix-up as well. Before I move on, let me also mention that back 1-2 is safe on block. It is -7, which means technically a character with a 6-frame down poke could punish it, but it has enough pushback that doesn't really apply. So don't worry about that. It is safe. Probably flawless blockable though, so keep that in mind. 2-1-2 is another high starter, and it's actually going to be one of Baraka's best punishing buttons. It's even on block if you finish the string. If you end with that, it is even on block. That's 0 on block. Keep in mind, it is a high, so it can be ducked. So you're going to want to mostly use it for punishes. However, it is a 9-frame startup, whereas stand 1 is a 7-frame startup. So it'll be matchup dependent, but if there's a move that your opponent does that can be punished by a 7-frame move and not a 9-frame move, that's when you would use 1-2 instead of 2-1. But overall, 2-1 is a really good option for starting combos. Stand 3-4 is an interesting little string that has some stagger utility. Keep in mind that stand 3, it is a high, so it can be ducked. However, if they block it, it is +4 on block, so you get to keep your pressure. Actually, it's a lot of pressure. +4 is pretty significant. If you finish the string with 3-4, that's pretty slow. It has a flawless block gap. However, it is -2. And it is a mid, so you're still safe, really safe on that. And even in a lot of situations, you're probably going to be able to keep your pressure because your opponent is going to have a hard time taking their turn, especially online if a move is only -2. So just keep that in mind. You are technically minus, but you know, if you got your stagger game on point, then you probably should be good. Back 3 is an interesting move. So it hits mid and then low. And you can continue it into back 3-1, which gets you a meterless launcher, or back 3-2. Now, back 3-2 is -13 on block, but the reason it's important is because sometimes if your opponent is blocking low and they block the back 3, the follow-up 1 is actually duckable. So keep that in mind. That can really get you in a lot of trouble if you're fighting an experienced opponent. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so here I have the AI doing back 3-1, and you're gonna notice I'm actually able to duck the second hit. So check this out. To see how I was able to punish that because I ducked under the second hit. So just be careful because an experienced opponent who knows this matchup is going to be able to do that. And is going to be able to full combo punish you as a result. Okay, so the reason why you have the ability to finish with 2 instead, even though it is unsafe on block, and you might think, why would you ever use it then instead of following up with 1, which is safe on block, is that you don't want to get ducked and punished, and so that kind of adds a little bit of a mind game. You can throw in adding the 2 at the end instead every once in a while if you think your opponent is going to try to duck under that second hit. Forward 3 is a super slow overhead launcher. It is kind of safe on block. It's only -7. Keep in mind you can be punished by certain down 1s in the game as a result of it being -7. There are some 6-frame down 1s. However, it does give you kind of a mix-up in terms of launchers. So you have, again, you have the back 1 starter, and that's a low, and then you have this one, which is a high. There's an overhead, rather. Stand 4 is actually one of Baraka's most visually interesting moves. I love this move. I don't know how useful it's going to be in neutral. I think it's going to be useful in some combo situations, which we'll get to in a little while. But Stand 4 itself is even on block, but again, it is a high. You see both of those hits were high, and so that can be blocked, or excuse me, it can be ducked. However, if it is blocked, you will remain neutral even on block, and so you can continue your pressure or your opponent can. You're even, so either one of you can hit the other, really. That's what that means. If you need a guide about frame data and stuff like that, I'll probably come out with one of those pretty soon, probably in my like intro to Mortal Kombat 1 video. But just for now, know that it's a really sick, swaggy move, and if you continue on by hitting 4 3 times, then it ends up being -7 on block. That move is -7 on block, and then if you continue the full string, which is hitting 4 6 times, it looks really sick, but keep in mind that it is -14 on block when you do that. So it's really, for some reason, the game is glitched and it doesn't tell you that in the menu. I had to turn on frame data and look for myself, but just keep that in mind. All right, the infamous forward 4-4. Guess what? Baraka has forward 4-4 again in this game. It's not quite as advancing as in the last game, but it does advance. It is these mid, kind of slow mids, advancing mids, and that's pretty much the same thing that it was in the last game, and he has it again. So again, it doesn't advance quite as much as it did in the last game, but it still does. So I think this will still be an interesting neutral tool, because it can hit, the second hit hits from pretty far away, as you can see. So you'll probably be able to throw that out in neutral. You can use forward 4 in combo situations as well, just like in the last game. We'll kind of get to that in a little while, but yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know about that. And then, of course, we have his air combat moves. Basically, all you need to know is it's 1-2-1, 1-4, and 2-4. So air combat in this game is just basically done by jump canceling. That's 1-2-1. That's 1-4. And that's 2-4. That one can get you a lot of distance if you want to use it. The main thing with Baraka, though, is when I show you a lot of his combo routes, we're not going to use air combat that much. He has a really swaggy combo ender in the air, though, so if you just want the swag points, you can use it, and that's the death spin that he does in the air. Like, that move looks really, really cool, but in terms of practical damage, you can get a lot more by basically not doing air combat at all with this character. Air combat can be really, really good on a lot of characters. I think Baraka doesn't really need it for high damage, though. So that's just kind of, it is what it is. You can kind of toy around with those if you want, but I don't really think you need them. Now we're done with his basic strings. We're going to get into the special moves, kind of the utility. I love, love, love. I know a lot of people are kind of bummed about it, but I love that the variation system is gone. And the reason I love that is because it means these characters just have a lot of moves that they can use, regardless of variations or things like that. So let's get into the basic special moves that he has. He has something called Bleeding Blade, which is his projectile. It replaces Blade Spark. He doesn't have that anymore. It's done by pressing back forward 1, and he just kind of shoots a blade out like a rocket punch. I think it's pretty cool. As you can see, it's a high, so it can be ducked like a lot of projectiles. However, it's pretty fast and it comes out pretty fast. So I think overall it's going to be a pretty good projectile, especially because if you amplify it, you see it does more damage, and you can see it doing damage over time. If you look at the opponent's life bar right there, you can see it slowly bleeding down, and it's because the blade is still sticking out of his body and kind of causing that damage over time. So it has potential to be one of the most damaging projectiles in the game, which is pretty cool. Now, I said that Back Forward 1 replaced Blade Sparks. That doesn't mean Blade Sparks is not in the game. However, now it is an aerial attack that hits straight down. So if you jump and you hit down back 1, you get Blade Sparks. Now, the thing about it is, I don't know how useful this move is going to be because it has like no hitbox. See how close I am? You have to be over your opponent for it to work, pretty much. And then it knocks down. However, if you amplify it, it's a combo starter. Again, not sure how useful that's going to be because you have to use up a bar for it, and it's also super punishable on block. It's like -15 if you land after doing it and it got blocked, so maybe it probably has some utility. I just haven't really figured it out yet. That's not to say that it doesn't. Again, the game is pretty new, but it's there if you want to use it. Down back 1 is a special move called Stab Stab. It's a combo ender primarily, and you can use it for a side switch as well. It's one of his less damaging combo enders, but the thing about it again is you can get a side switch off of it, so it gives it a little more utility. You sacrifice a little bit of damage, but as a result, again, you get a little more utility. And so you can actually use it at the end of even a grounded combo, and it actually ends in an overhead, as you can see. However, keep in mind that it is -13 on block when you do that, and so it is punishable, pretty significantly punishable. And so just keep that in mind. It does hit overhead though, so there's that. But just, you know, kind of use it to end your combos. It's a pretty swaggy combo ender, and you can get a side switch. And like most of the special moves in this game, you can amplify it at the end to get more damage as well. Next up, we're going to talk about one of my favorite moves that Baraka has in this game, which is the Baraka Barrage. This is a move you can use as a combo ender. It kind of is just like a series of blade attacks. However, you can also amplify it to serve as a launcher, and really it's pretty much your best combo launcher for Baraka because you just get a lot of damage off of it. And I'm going to show you some pretty sick combos you can get with it later when we get to the combos portion of the video, but for now just know that it is primarily one of your, you have to burn the meter to use it, to use the launcher version, but you can use it for ending combos. It's his most potent, it's his most damaging combo ender without using bar, and in addition it's his most potent combo starter by using a bar. That's some pretty juicy damage with no, absolutely no cameo involved, so pretty good stuff. Something I forgot to mention is that it also ends in an overhead. Just keep in mind that that move, like most special moves, is super unsafe on block, so you basically want to confirm into it. Don't just throw it out if your opponent is blocking. The next one we're going to talk about is the Death Spin, which, as we mentioned earlier, is a pretty cool way to end your aerial combat or your air combat combos. It looks really cool. It doesn't really do that much damage, so, I mean, you know, you can kind of take it or leave it. You can get a lot more damage with different routes than that, but again, it does look super swaggy, so I remembered seeing it in the trailer for Baraka and thinking how cool it looks. So keep in mind, it is there. You can use it, and you can also amplify it and hold down 2, which gives you kind of an extended version, which does like a tiny bit more damage, not that much more damage, but it also can go further, so I think that probably will be your main use for it, in terms of maybe like you're in the corner, so you can use amplified death spin to get really far out of the corner. I haven't really used it in that capacity yet, so take that with a grain of salt, because again, it is super minus if you know, when you land afterwards, if you didn't hit your opponent with it, so they may even be able to punish you even then. But it might be able to, you know, get you some utility in that way. So keep that in mind. It's there, you can use it, it's pretty cool. Lastly, we're going to talk about Chop Chop. Now, Chop Chop is a lot different than it was in the last game. In the last game, it was just the traditional Chop Chop that he's always had, where he just slices with his blades over and over again, and you could tap it to make it extend and all that kind of stuff. It was definitely one of his best combo enders in the last game. This game, it it's kind of a double-edged sword. So in this game, it can be a little harder to land in certain combos because you'll notice, here, I'll just show you, he kind of does this slide on his knee. That means it kind of hits lower, and as a result, you can sometimes kind of slide under your opponent when you're juggling them, so you have to time it well if you want to end with it. However, the positives behind Chop Chop, although it does technically less damage than Baraka Barrage, and it doesn't have the ability to launch, the good news is, as a combo ender, it has way more corner carry. So you're kind of trading and it's not that much damage that you're leaving on the table. It doesn't do that less damage, but it does do a little bit less damage, as you can see here. So that was Baraka Barrage, which did 120. You are infected. You are infected. So, and then there was Chop Chop, which only did 90. However, you saw there was a lot more corner carry. In terms of Chop Chop, it just carries further in the corner. So if you want corner carry, end with Chop Chop. Also, if you need just a little bit extra damage, and you don't have the ability to juggle anymore, then you can also amplify the end of Chop Chop to get some extra damage. It uses a bar of meter, but then you go from 120 with Baraka Barrage to 140 with Chop Chop. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you really need to polish off the match and you're keeping in mind the opponent's health on the top, by the way, make sure the numbers are turned on at the health bars at the top. It's on by default, which is good, unlike the last game, but that can really save your skin if you know exactly how much like numerical value health your opponent has. But if you need to do 15 more damage, then just amplify Chop Chop and boom. There you go. You've won the round for an extra meter. So that gives it a lot of utility, and again, it has a ton of corner carry, so that's kind of when you're going to use Chop Chop. Now let's talk about cameos. There are two main cameos that I've been seeing a lot of people online use, and I agree with that decision because the combo damage can just be insane with Baraka in general. You can get almost 40% for like one bar even with no cameos, as we saw earlier. You might be able to do something like this. There you go, that's 393 or 39% for one bar with no cameo. Now, Serena has a really interesting cameo attack where if you do back plus cameo, she will come out and throw these little disc things, and they hit 4 times total. She throws 2, and they hit in the front, and then they come back and kind of hit your opponent in the back of the head twice. And the combo potential with this is pretty good, so I'll give you an example. So we went from getting 39% to getting 42% with that cameo. 42% for one bar is really not too shabby. She also has this really obnoxious move that I think is going to be super annoying, where she kind of brings this little magic circle out and it drains your opponent's meter. So I think she's generally going to be a pretty good cameo as well. She also has her down cameo move where she does this little kick. I still need to mess around with it a little more, but I think it probably is going to be pretty good for like corner combos and stuff, and maybe anti-airs, but we'll see. But this move here, you can see, bye-bye meter. See, your opponent's meter just goes away the longer they stand in there. And as you can see, it does not do the same to you. So, unlike Jax, where he knocks you down with your opponent, your little circle does not harm you. So, again, I think Serena is going to be a pretty good cameo in general, but definitely she helps you get a lot of combo damage with Baraka specifically. The next cameo I want to talk about is probably one you've seen if you've looked at any of Baraka's stuff, but Cyrax and Baraka... Cyrax has a lot of synergy with several characters. I think he's probably going to be one of the better cameos in the game. But Cyrax with Baraka in particular, you're going to be able to do about 50%, just under 50% for one bar with this cameo, and I'm going to show you how to do that here in a minute. And then, of course, you can keep burning bars to get even more after that. But I think 46 to 47% is pretty solid for one bar and one bar cameo. So we'll show you that. But first I want to show you, of course, Cyrax has his net move. So this is just a free combo if you hit your opponent with that. Not bad. Caught the opponent with that and ended with 34%. Would have ended with more if I'd ended with Baraka Barrage instead of Stab Stab. However, keep in mind that like every other cameo for the most part, when you do a kind of like freeze move or a trap move like that, it does heavily scale the damage. So anyway, all of that aside, it is to say definitely try Cyrax because he has that cool net move, and also his neutral, which is the spin move, has crazy damage synergy with Baraka, and I'm going to show you an example of that. So like I said, do you like 46% for one bar? Because I sure do. That combo has a little bit of a tricky timing to pull off, but if you can get it consistently, I'm at the point where I can get it maybe like 5 out of 7 times. I don't know why I chose that, such a weird ratio, but I'll drop it a couple of times. But if you can really get that down, I mean, that is huge damage. And then I've even seen people amplify the Stab Stab move so that it keeps going, and then you can get Cyrax out a second time to do another spin and then end with a third Stab Stab, and you can get like 55-56% for a couple bars, which is pretty darn good. So yeah, that's going to be it in terms of like game plan and you know, specials and things like that. We're going to go into some combos for you to try out. Most of these are just going to be pretty simple bread and butter combos that you can use on a practical level. But yeah, again, make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Stick around for the combos, have a good one, and be blessed.